Thank you, Nipat. Thank you, Johnny, for being here. We're really excited to have this discussion about how financial institutions, look into crypto in terms of their journey in getting to this place, and of course, what's in the future, right? So if I can start with just asking for each one of you to describe this crypto journey that your respective companies took and how you got here, right? So maybe you can start with you, Johnny. Yeah.
Thanks, Joshua, first, and thanks for having me. So maybe let me start with a little bit of context, right? So BNY Mellon, we play a major role in the capital market infrastructure. We are the world's largest custodians, where our client entrusted us with 45 trillions of asset under custody administrations. On any day, we clear 10 trillion of securities, 2 trillion of payments. I think we play a critical role in the capital markets. That's one thing, right? The second part of it is also we start from. We are very fortunate to start from a very trusted kind of entity where we see that it's a unique opportunity for us to marry that trust and innovations. I think as obviously, we feel obligated given that role that we play to play an active role in advancing the digital asset, especially as we speak a lot with our clients as they are increasingly having interest or having adoptions on digital assets. So that built that conviction for us kind of like 1.5 years ago that we actually decided to create a new unit, which we call it the Digital Asset Unit. With the goal is really about how do we create a multi-asset platform that allow to support the needs of our client in digital asset, as well as enable the interoperability with the traditional assets, which we think that is really kind of like a true differentiator and a unique proposition. So along that journey, basically, one of the core tenets of how we're executing this is also we believe in, collaborations, right? Collaborations with the right partners. When I say right partners, are really these are the folks with really share the same vision as us in terms of how do we advance this digital asset industry in the way that sounds and safe. And also, how do we leverage that industry capability? Again, we can't solve everything ourselves. There's a lot of innovations going on in the marketplace. But how do we find those sort of people who share the same visions and then integrate that unique capabilities to deliver that multi-asset platform that I spoke about? A prime example is Chainalysis, right? Has been a great partners and we're actually investing in Chainalysis as well. So and similarly as well, we continue to partners with people to build the infrastructure. Other examples includes folks like Fireblocks, Talos. And even more recently, we partner with a Circle, on the management of their reserve. So it's been quite a journey for us. I think it's a long-term play. It's about how do we advance the industry in the way that's safe and sound, and we can double click on those as we progress in.
Thank you. How about Nipat?
Yes, sure. I think Thank you very much for having us as well. My honor to be part of this event. I think from us as a commercial bank in Thailand, I think our journey started about 5 years ago. Actually, it's a broader fintech context, and blockchain is part of that. The new innovation that the group is looking into. So we started off setting up this unit called SCB10X. I'm not sure whether you heard about it. It's the corporate venture capital arm, of the group. We starting with by investing, into all the fintech startup, and a lot of it is actually related to blockchain technology, and Ripple, and a few of the investment in the portfolio is related in the blockchain. And then over time, the group forming the wheel of how we want to get involved, in the blockchain space. Not only blockchain, actually fintech platform and other things. And I think today we kind of mandated, within our group that given the context of the regulation in Thailand as well, that they announced all the licenses, it's going to be issued, by SEC. So we, looking around, in our ecosystem, in our subsidiary, and we think that probably the security business, who are traditionally the equity broker, would be the one that take lead on the mandate, as a flagship entity for digital asset space. So SCB Securities, there would be, rebrand, repositioning. The traditional equity broker would still be there, but we want to add more asset class into that. Digital asset is one of that, so they will be the one that take lead, on the business development activity and the investment activity. So yeah, it's growing from investing, to the business development, and now I think today we have almost all the licenses that regulator in Thailand has allowed. We have exchange license, we have broker license. Custodian is no license yet, but on the midst of developing it. And a few other services, same as BNY. I think infrastructure play, but being a smaller domestic regional player, we kind of have to think a little bit differently on what is the play for us. Yeah.
Thanks. And let me continue with you, Nipat. You mentioned about licensing and regulation, and obviously as being linked to a financial institution, it's not something that you can easily just say, let's step into crypto and let's just do this, right? So maybe you can share a little bit, since your journey has been 5 years, what are some of the challenges that you face as a financial institution in terms of moving into crypto, or even thinking about moving to blockchain space, both, I guess, internal challenges as well as external challenges?
Yeah, I think for us, we have a slightly different context, from other player. We are not global bank, we are not tech company. So getting into digital asset is, you can think of it as a financial services, but not exactly what we are good at, at the beginning on the onset. So I would say that the most challenging factor for us is to think what we can do, So we have to look at it, from a realistic perspective that, a lot of these things that's happening in the world, in the crypto, we tend to think that a lot of it would become a global play, Majority of the businesses, no matter how you say financial services is financial services, in the new paradigm, a lot of that would become only global player. It looks like that, it's shaping the way toward that. So as a regional or domestic player, we have to really identify, what exactly we can do. So not all the things we can do, and actually a few things that we can do. So, and put the commitment and the effort, into things that matter to us. I think that's the most challenging thing. And as the industry continue to develop, I think we are far from be able to say that what is the play for local player, what is the play for global, but it's shaping up. We start to see a certain segment that there are room for player like us, for regional player, and that the context of regulation as well. For example, like in Thai market, I think Thai baht is still regulated currency, so something to do with Thai baht. I think that there would be a play for local bank and regional bank, something to work with the retail client, with our network, that could be a play for us. So, it's forming up, it's shaping up, the industry is shaping up for us. I think that's probably the most challenging thing. I think regulation-wise, the same as everyone in this room, I think it's something we need to deal with. I would take it as, it's a must anyway, yeah. So it's a role of the stakeholder and the landscape, which I think is the more difficult thing for us. Yeah.
Johnny, how about the BNY? Yeah.
I think a number of things for us is really, I think number one is on educations. I think really spend a lot of time really trying to understand digital assets and also the underlying technology, underpinning digital assets. I think, in fact, it's quite dated all the way back to 2015, if I could remember correctly, right? Where we actually began to make a pioneering investment into, industry efforts like R3, Finality, and really understand sort of like, how this thing works, what is it trying to solve, and how is it different, and how it can actually truly potentially transform the industry. And there's a huge amount of education, right? So when you sort of understand, then the next bit is also about, well, how do you make it relevant, right? So, and how do you have that conviction? Because it's pretty uncharted territory, honestly, right? And how do you build that conviction to say that? But I guess, again, like I say, given the role that we play with that 45 trillions of scale and, giving our client access to 107 markets, we do see that, this is an important infrastructure play. That we feel obligated as a client to be entering into that. We need to be there along with them in a way that's safe and sound. So that's why we build that convictions, right? And then the second part is also about capacity, right? So once you build that conviction, it's also about how do you create that capacity that allow you to actually start, putting the effort, time, energy, or even hard dollars into actually investing into this is something that I think has been quite a journey for us as well. And I think the third thing is also about talent, right? At the end of the day, you can have a great visions, you can execute, but how do you attract the right kind of talent that work along with us? And that's also something that we are very passionate about, right? I've been super fortunate, I would say, as well. We actually are able to attract great talent from the sort of a crypto or digital asset native side of the world to come and join us to be part of these journeys, right? So because we believe that I think is that vision and combination of that traditional bankers kind of understanding of the industry, like truly deep understanding why things are here for the right reasons and in the sense of, AML, for example. And while at the same time as well, we don't know what we don't know, right? And that's why we need to bring in this fusion of talent. So I think the ability to attract that talent and not only that, retaining them to be part of this journey is something that, I think has been quite fascinating for us. But we have been very fortunate given our scale and the client, the long-term partnership of the clients that we have, who has been working very closely with us in the early process. When I talk about digital asset, I'm talking about digital asset in the broader sense, right? Crypto is something maybe it's a little bit more immediate, right? But there's a longer term when we talk about digital cash, as well as also, a potential opportunity with tokenizations. Yeah.
So Johnny, maybe the next question for you is, given you mentioned about the need for education, right? And I'm sure in BNY Mellon financial industry, because it's such a mature and old industry, and suddenly of course, your executives to start thinking about blockchain and cryptocurrency is a big shift, right? So when you talk about education, just curious, right? When things, when things like Luna, US DT happens and bad press happens, right? Do you get caught up and start to educate them again why this is happening? And is that a kind of reactive thing, or are you saying, oh no, my executives know exactly what's good and what's bad? Maybe you can share a little bit of that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I think education is an ongoing thing for sure, but I think we have been kind of fortunate as well. Again, I think even when we braced into this journey as we decided to form this as a unit, I think one of the core tenets has always been risk management first as one of the core tenets, right? So I think what happened recently has kind of like even further validated that and give us that sort of like, I think we are taking the right approach. And really bringing together all those partners. Again, we do see this not just as our play, it's a collaborative play with our core partner groups, and really try to bring that collective intelligence and solve this in a way that is robust, right? So a good example is, for example, we have been, as part of our, rolling out of our digital asset custody, we have been building a very robust risk framework, right? I'm talking, across the life cycle of the assets, right? I'm talking about operational risk, technology risk, reputational risk, and so on and so forth. And that is also where we kind of like partner with yourself to kind of integrate your deep expertise on the on-chain analytics and, KYT to integrate into to bring that risk framework alive. So I think, I think what happening in the public space is really kind of like a live experimentation, I would say, that actually give us lessons. But I think the good news is that I think broadly, I would say, I think regulators is also working hard not to stifle innovations, providing a guardrail so that we can try to soften and minimize the impact while we can still progress on this journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as I myself have been speaking to a lot of regulators and play in this space. One of the words that keeps coming up is balance, right? How do you balance innovation and with regulatory requirements? So Nipat, given the, like you say, the journey that you so described that SCBx has taken, what are some of the maybe 3 things that you think should happen or must happen in the next year or so for this industry to continue to mature and progress in the right direction?
Right. Yeah. I don't think we are in the position to say that what are the 3 things that should happen, to get us there. But let's put it this way: there are a few things that the group is cautiously looking at, and to see how it's interact with the entire market. I think one is we all along, coming into this space, not only because of the blockchain itself, but we come from the client-centric as well. We think that the whole crypto and digital asset ecosystem is a service and product for the next generation, and that's it's part of the, I would say, a pain point, if I would say, for the bank as well. How do we interact with the next generation? And blockchain is just one of that come and fix this. Platform, fintech, all of that disrupt the bank in the same manner. They target the new generation, and we do think that this has a potential to be the next big thing for financial service for next generation. So, coming from that angle, so the use case that we kind of watch, is the use case for next generation. That's what we believe that it would be a main drive force, for the industry. All that you've been heard of, metaverse, even investment token, how the new generation would interact with the traditional asset class. I think that would be a real use case that we hope to see, and that would be a big jump. Hoping in the next 2-3 years. Another angle would probably be the role of stablecoin. CBDC around the world, there are a few school of thought, like when central bank try to do a stablecoin. I think we keep our eye on that development. There are room for us to play, definitely, as a bank. How CBDC works with the whole system, I think it would, in a way, shape the landscape of the industry. Yeah, I think that maybe not 3, just 2.
Oh, that's good. I like the part where, I think CBDC is something that continues to be, spoken of in the press. Although I must say, since I've joined Chainalysis in 2020, it kind of has tapered according to how crypto has moved. I know there are still a lot of projects that is happening, joint projects between countries building on CBDCs. Maybe for a bank like BNY Mellon, what are your thoughts towards this particular area of CBDCs, and are there thinking towards how to support, how to work in this type of space?
Yeah. Ultimately, we are in the institution business. We are, our clients are banks, are institutions. I think certainly it's very clear. I think there's a clear need of faster, cheaper, more transparent payment, and again, cash being the other side of the assets, right? I think there's a real need as part of us trying to move towards. Ultimately, if you think about digital asset, think about tokenization. Ultimately, it's all about how do we get into a lot more digitized world. There's a lot more efficient, a lot more real time and transparent, and for that, I think for that for the instant settlement to happen, right? I think we need to work both, not just on the asset leg, but it's also the cash leg. So that is why we are very actively working on that. That's why I mentioned when we talk about digital asset, really we are looking at it in a broader sense, right? Crypto is being one thing. Cash is actually quite an important part of it, the digital cash, right? Whether it is deposit tokens, whether it's a stable coin, whether it's a CBDC. I think we are in that journey. I think there's a few sort of use cases evolving, proof of concept proving that, and obviously stable coins are pretty, one of the pretty prominent one in the public space these days. It's important, and I think that side of the thing also need to be solved, not just on the asset side.
Okay, thanks. Probably to end off this session, I want to see from your perspective, what are probably the one innovation that you are excited about that is being developed, it's upcoming, and how would that impact your respective company's business. Yeah.
Yeah, for us at BNY Mellon, I think the part when I mentioned about the interoperability is super important, right? I think about it, right? So, you know, our client generally are having diversified assets, right? You know, it's a very inefficient, complex, and costly for them when they have to sort of custodize their certain type of traditional asset with one custodian, another traditional asset with another custodian, and you know, digital asset with another custodian. It's very complex. So that is for us is kind of like what people are probably missing, right? And solving for that client experience so that allow client to sort of seamlessly able to understand and look at the whole portfolio across both traditional and digital assets. And that is what we are working towards too, and something that we are very passionate about.
Nipat, on your side?
Yeah, I think for the group, we kind of see, you know, a few things that could have an impact, you know, on the financial services. I think one, blockchain is definitely, you know, one of that we can see it could be a potential almost replace the whole, you know, financial service system, you know, with the way that blockchain operate and the way that all the pieces, you know, forming up right now. That's one. The development of platform is another one that the bank is looking at. You know, we coming from this, you know, like I mentioned before, the perspective of how we engage and participate, you know, with our client, you know, from the intermediary to the platform kind of business model, and you know, this kind of you know, a little bit of correction of, you know, all the platform that is still, you know, burning cash and things like that is something that we keep, you know, our eye very close to the situation. That's why the group has even, you know, built our own platform. It's a food delivery platform, you know, just to see, you know, how we can interact and what kind of data that we get from you know, that kind of platform, the high frequency platform business compared to the bank app, which is people would come only when they need to do a banking transaction, right? That's number two. I think number three would be a virtual bank. I think the innovation of neobank is something that, you know, of course, naturally is the area that we want to get into. Again, you know, this is go back a little bit on the traditional banking side, so regulation, you know, would have to be in place. You know, a few countries already have that in place or have a way to work around it. I think we are actively looking at these three areas: platform, virtual bank, and blockchain.
Thank you so much once again for Nipat. I know you flew in from Thailand. Really appreciate you being here, and Johnny as well. So thank you for sharing your thoughts on you know, how your company's individual journeys and what your guys are looking forward to, right? So thank you very much. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.